I didn't believe it at first. I mean, how do you even process something like that? 1 second you're half asleep, standing in your kitchen in Austin, eating cold eggs out of a pan, and the next, your entire life flips upside down because of a single photo on your phone. It was my brother, standing in front of a glass building that looked like something straight out of Silicon Valley. Clean lines, big logo, cameras, people around him smiling like he was somebody important. And that logo, I felt my stomach drop before my brain even caught up. Because I knew it. Not kind of recognized it. Not looked familiar. I knew every curve, every letter, every stupid little detail. I had drawn it. My fingers actually froze on the screen. I zoomed in like maybe, just maybe, I was wrong. Like maybe my brain was filling in gaps that weren't there. But no. Same name. Same design. Same concept. My idea. I tapped the article with shaking hands. My heart was beating so loud it felt like it was echoing in my ears. Startup founder disrupts local market. Valued at $28 million. 28 million. And there he was. My older brother. Talking like he built it from nothing. I started reading faster. Too fast. My eyes were skipping lines, trying to catch up with what my brain didn't want to accept. Words like innovation, vision, execution kept showing up. His words. His face. His success. Built on something I told him in a garage 3 years ago. And that's when the memory hit me. Clear. Sharp. Like it never left. Ohio. Late night. Garage door half open. Cold air coming in. We were sitting on 2 old chairs, drinking cheap beer and complaining about life like we always did. I remember leaning forward and saying, I think I've got something. He didn't laugh. Didn't interrupt. He listened. That's what made it worse. I showed him everything. My notebook. The sketches. Even the broken prototype I barely got working. He kept nodding slowly, like he was processing it. Then he said something I'll never forget. It's good, but the timing's off. You should wait. I trusted him. God, I trusted him. So I waited. I kept working my job. Saved money. Told myself I'd launch when the time was right. Meanwhile, he disappeared for a while. Said he was figuring things out. Now I knew what that meant. My phone slipped a little in my hand as I stared at the screen again. There was a video attached to the article. I hesitated, then pressed play. The interviewer asked him, where did the idea come from? He smiled. Calm. Confident. My family, he said. And right there, something inside me cracked. Because technically, he wasn't lying. I didn't call him. Not that day. Not the next one either. That's the part people always get wrong when I tell this story. They expect some big explosion, yelling, accusations, maybe even a confrontation. But that's not how it happened. I just froze. I sat there in my apartment, replaying that interview over and over again like it might change if I watched it enough times. Like maybe I'd catch something I missed, a hesitation, a slip, anything that would prove he knew what he did. But he didn't hesitate. He didn't stutter. He didn't look like a guy who stole anything. He looked like someone who believed his own story. And somehow, that made it worse. By the second day, I stopped watching the videos. Not because I didn't want to, but because I couldn't take it anymore. Instead, I started digging. Company records, articles, interviews, investor announcements, anything I could find. And the deeper I went, the worse it got. The company wasn't just doing well. It was exploding. User growth charts that went straight up. Partnerships with brands I used to only see in ads. Funding rounds that made my chest tighten just reading the numbers. Millions. Real money. Real success. My idea, fully alive. Just not with me. And then I saw the timeline. That's when my stomach really dropped. He didn't start the company a year after our conversation. Or even 2. It was 6 months later. 6 months. I leaned back in my chair and just stared at the ceiling. Because that meant something I didn't want to admit. He didn't come back to it later. He didn't rethink it. He took it and moved immediately. Like he had been waiting for me to say it out loud. Like I handed it to him. My phone buzzed on the table. I ignored it. Then it buzzed again. Same number. Unknown. I frowned. Something about it felt off. Not random. Not spam. Intentional. I let it ring a third time. Stopped. Then a message came through. Just one line. Hey, it's me. My chest tightened instantly. I didn't need a name. I didn't need confirmation. I knew. I stared at the message for a long time, my thumb hovering over the screen. 1,000 thoughts ran through my head at once. Why now? Why after all this time? Did he think I didn't know? Or worse, did he know that I knew? Another message popped up. Can we talk? Short, careful, almost nervous. That didn't make sense. He just built a multi-million-dollar company. He was doing interviews, smiling for cameras, talking about vision. So why did that message feel like it came from a completely different person? I typed a response. Deleted it. Typed again. Deleted it. My hands were shaking now, not from shock this time, but something else. Anger. 3 years of nothing. 3 years of silence. And now suddenly, can we talk? I finally hit call. It rang once. Twice. Then he picked up. For a second, neither of us said anything. Just breathing. Then he spoke. I didn't think you'd answer. His voice sounded different. Lower. Tense. Careful. And that's when I realized something I hadn't expected. He wasn't calling to celebrate. He was calling because something had gone wrong. I didn't say anything at first. I just held the phone against my ear, listening to him breathe like somehow that alone would tell me everything I needed to know. 3 years. And this was how it started. I didn't think you'd answer, he repeated, quieter this time. Yeah, I said finally. My voice sounded flat, distant. Well, I didn't think you'd call. There was a pause. A long one. The kind that feels heavier than words. I know, he said. I deserve that. That caught me off guard. Not the words themselves, but how fast he said them. Like he'd rehearsed this. Like he'd been sitting somewhere, running through this conversation in his head over and over again. I leaned against the kitchen counter, gripping the edge so hard my fingers hurt. So, I said, cutting through it. You gonna tell me why I'm looking at my idea on the news? Silence. Then a slow exhale on his end. It's not that simple. I actually laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was exactly what I expected him to say. Really, I said. Because from where I'm standing, it looks pretty simple. Another pause. Then he said something that made my stomach twist. I didn't steal it. I closed my eyes. Of course. Of course he was going to say that. You didn't. I stopped myself, shaking my head even though he couldn't see me. Same name. Same product. Same everything. But you didn't steal it? I built it, he said quickly. I took what you had and I made it real. You weren't going to. Don't. I snapped. My voice came out sharper than I expected. Don't you dare turn this into you weren't going to do it. You told me to wait. I told you to think it through. You told me the timing was wrong. Because it was, for you. That hit harder than anything else. For me, I repeated slowly. Yeah, he said. You weren't ready. You didn't have the money, the connections. And you did. I cut in. Back then, sitting in the same garage as me. Another silence. But this one felt different. Tighter. Like he was choosing his next words very carefully. No, he admitted. Not then. Something about the way he said it made my chest tighten. Then what changed? I asked. He didn't answer right away. I could hear something in the background. Movement. Maybe a door closing. Like he was stepping somewhere more private. When he spoke again, his voice dropped. After that night, I talked to someone. My grip tightened on the phone. What does that mean? It means, he hesitated. Like even now he wasn't sure how much to say. I didn't do this alone. That made my stomach drop. Who? I asked. Another pause. Longer this time. And then he said a name I hadn't heard in years. A name that made everything click into place and fall apart at the same time. Dad. I felt like the air got sucked out of the room. What? I said, barely above a whisper. He helped me get started. My brother continued quickly. Introduced me to people. Helped me structure things. I didn't think it would. Stop. My head was spinning now. You're telling me he knew? I asked. No answer. That was answer enough. Because suddenly, this wasn't just about my brother anymore. This was bigger. Way bigger. And then he said the one thing that made my stomach turn completely. That's actually why I'm calling, he said. A cold feeling ran down my spine. What do you mean? Another pause. And when he finally answered, I think you deserve to know what really happened. For a second, I couldn't even speak. I just stood there in my kitchen, staring at nothing, trying to process what he had just said. Dad. Out of everyone. Dad. No. I said finally, shaking my head slowly. No, that doesn't make sense. It does, my brother replied, too quickly. You just don't know everything. My chest tightened. Then tell me. I said. Because right now it sounds like both of you went behind my back. Another pause. I could hear him breathing again, heavier this time. Like whatever he was about to say, he'd been avoiding it for a long time. I didn't go to him to steal your idea, he said carefully. That's not how it started. Then how did it start? I snapped. Silence. Then, you remember that week after we talked in the garage? Of course I did. I remembered everything about that week. The way I couldn't sleep. The way my brain wouldn't shut off because for the first time in years, I felt like I had something real. Yeah, I said slowly. I remember. I couldn't stop thinking about it, he continued. Your idea, it was good. Really good. And I knew if you actually pulled it off, it could change things. That was the point, I said. I know, he said quickly. That's the problem. That made no sense. What are you talking about? Another breath. Then he said something that hit harder than anything so far. I didn't think you'd survive it. I blinked. What? I've seen you try things before, he said. Big ideas. Big risks. And every time it went wrong, you took it personally. You shut down. You disappeared for months. My jaw tightened. That's not your decision to make. I know that now, he said. But back then, I thought I was being smart. Protective, even. Protective. I repeated, disbelief creeping into my voice. By taking it for yourself? That's not what I planned, he insisted. I just wanted a second opinion. Someone who actually understood business. And then I knew exactly where this was going. You went to him. Yes. My stomach dropped again. I showed him everything, my brother continued. Your notes. The concept. The potential. I closed my eyes. Of course he did. And what did he say? I asked quietly. There was a long pause before he answered. At first, he was impressed. Something about that made my chest tighten even more. At first, I repeated, yeah, my brother said. Then he asked me a question. I didn't like the way his voice changed when he said that. What question? Another pause. Like he didn't want to say it out loud. Finally, he asked why you hadn't started yet. I let out a slow breath. Because I was being careful. I told him that, my brother said. I told him you were waiting for the right moment. And he didn't like that answer. Of course he didn't. Dad had never been patient. Never believed in waiting. To him, if you didn't move fast, you didn't deserve it. So what did he say? I asked, even though I wasn't sure I wanted to hear it. My brother hesitated again. Then, he said opportunities don't wait, he said. And if you're not willing to take them, someone else will. My grip on the phone tightened. I had heard that line before, many times. But he didn't just say it, my brother continued. He pushed. In what way? Another silence. And then the part that made everything shift. He told me I should do it. My heart skipped. What? He said if I believed in it, I shouldn't wait around for you to figure it out, my brother said. He said I had the drive you didn't. That stung more than I expected. And you just listened? I said. At first, no, he admitted. I argued. I told him it was your idea. And he said something I can't stop thinking about now. I felt a cold knot form in my stomach. What? My brother exhaled slowly. He said, ideas don't belong to people. Execution does. Silence filled the line. Because deep down, I knew exactly why that worked on him. And that's when you decided to take it, I said quietly. No, he said. And for the first time since the call started, his voice cracked. That's when things went further than I ever planned. My chest tightened again. What does that mean? Another pause, longer than any before. And when he finally spoke, it means there's something else you don't know about Dad. My stomach dropped before he even said the next word. There was something in his tone now, something heavier, darker, like we weren't just talking about a bad decision anymore. We were getting into something deeper. What do you mean? I asked slowly. He didn't answer right away. I could hear him shifting again, like he was pacing. Like this wasn't just hard to say, it was dangerous. It wasn't just advice, he finally said. What Dad did. A cold feeling spread through my chest. Then what was it? Another pause. Then, he got involved. I frowned, trying to process that. Involved how? He didn't just introduce me to people, my brother said. He set things up. Meetings. Early funding conversations. Legal stuff. That hit me harder than I expected. Because that wasn't just help. That was building it. Why? I asked. Why would he do that? Silence. Then a quiet, almost bitter exhale. Because he believed in it. That's not enough, I said immediately. He's never done that for me. Not like that. I know, my brother said. That's why I didn't understand it either at first. My grip tightened again. At first, yeah, he said, until I realized something. I didn't like the way this was going. What? Another pause. And when he spoke, his voice dropped even lower. He thought it was already his. I felt something twist in my chest. What are you talking about? I mean, my brother said carefully, when I showed him your notes, he recognized parts of it. That didn't make sense. Recognized what? Concepts. Pieces of the idea. The structure. I shook my head. No, that's not possible. I came up with that myself. I thought so too, he said quickly. At first. But then he started pointing things out, things you probably don't even realize. My breathing slowed, but not in a good way. What things? He said you'd been around it before, my brother continued. He said you'd heard him talk about similar ideas years ago. That maybe you built on that without knowing. I stopped myself, because suddenly memories started surfacing. Random conversations, half-finished thoughts, nights at the dinner table where Dad would go off about missed opportunities and untapped markets. Things I never took seriously. Things I didn't even remember until now. No, I said again, but it sounded weaker this time. That doesn't mean it was his. I know, my brother said, but that's how he saw it. Silence filled the line again. And then, he told me something I didn't tell you before. My chest tightened instantly. What? He said. My brother hesitated, like even repeating it felt wrong. He said if the foundation came from him, then it wasn't stealing. I felt my jaw clench. That's insane. I know, he said, but that's how he justified it. To himself, and eventually to me. I leaned back against the wall, feeling the weight of everything pressing down. So you convinced yourself too, I said quietly. No, he said quickly. Not at first. I knew it felt wrong. I knew it was your idea. Then why did you keep going? Another pause, longer this time. And when he answered, his voice was almost a whisper. Because by then, we were already in too deep. A chill ran down my spine. What does that mean? It means contracts were signed, he said. Money was coming in. People were involved. I swallowed. And Dad. Silence. Then, he made sure there was no turning back. My heart started beating faster again. How? Another pause. And then the sentence that changed everything again. He made me promise not to tell you. I froze. What? He said it would only complicate things, my brother continued. That you'd either slow it down or try to take control. I felt anger rising fast now. Hot. Sharp. So instead, you both just cut me out? That's not how I saw it back then, he said. I thought I was doing what needed to be done. I let out a bitter laugh. Yeah, I said. For yourself. No, he said quickly. And then his voice cracked again. For all of us. That made me stop. What? I was going to come back, he said. Once it worked. Once it was stable. I was going to bring you in. Make it right. My chest tightened. 3 years later? I asked. I know how that sounds. It sounds like you got rich first. Silence. And that silence said more than anything else. Then he spoke again. Quieter now. He's sick. Everything inside me went still. What? Another pause. And then, that's why I'm calling. For a second, I thought I misheard him. The words didn't land right. They just floated there, like my brain refused to grab onto them. He's what? I said. Sick, my brother repeated. It's serious. I leaned forward, pressing my hand against the counter like I needed something solid to hold on to. No, I said under my breath. No, he's not. He was fine last time I saw him. That was a year ago, my brother said quietly. A year. I hadn't even realized it had been that long. That alone hit me harder than I expected. What kind of serious? I asked. There was a pause, not hesitation, but wait. Like he knew once he said it out loud, everything would shift. Cancer. The word dropped heavy. Cold. Final. I closed my eyes. For a moment, everything else, the company, the betrayal, the anger, all of it blurred. Because no matter what he did, he was still my father. How bad? I asked. Stage 4. My grip tightened. Since when? Almost 8 months, he said. 8 months. I felt something sharp twist in my chest. You knew for 8 months, and you're telling me now? My voice rose without me meaning it to. I wanted to, he said quickly. I tried, but every time I picked up the phone, you hung up. I cut in. Yes. That answer came too fast. Too honest. And somehow, that made it worse. Why? I asked. Because I knew you'd ask questions, he said. About everything. About the company. About what we did. I let out a bitter breath. So you waited until now? No, he said. I waited until I couldn't anymore. That made my stomach tighten. What does that mean? Another pause. Then, he doesn't have much time left. The room felt smaller again, like the walls were closing in. And now suddenly I deserve to know? I said. That's convenient. I know how it sounds, he said, but that's not why. Then why now? I pressed. Silence. Longer than before. And when he finally spoke, his voice was lower than I'd ever heard it. Because he asked for you. That stopped me cold. What? He wants to see you, my brother said. In person. I didn't respond. I couldn't. After everything. After 3 years of silence, betrayal, lies. Now he wanted to see me? Why? I finally asked. I think you know why. No, I said. I don't. Another breath. Then, he wants to make it right. I laughed. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just hollow. Make it right. I repeated. How exactly does he plan to do that? I don't know everything, my brother admitted. But there's something else. Of course there was. There was always something else. What now? I said. He changed something, my brother continued. Recently. Legally. My heart started beating faster again. What kind of something? Another pause. And then, the company. Everything in me went still. What about it? He made changes to ownership. My mind started racing now. What kind of changes? I asked, but I already felt the answer coming. Heavy, unavoidable. My brother hesitated one last time. Then, he added your name. Silence. Complete silence. Because in that moment, I didn't know what hit harder. The betrayal, the timing, or the fact that after everything, he was trying to give it back. I didn't answer him right away. I just stood there, staring at the floor, replaying everything in my head like maybe I'd missed something. My name. On the company. After 3 years of silence. After everything. You're serious? I finally said. Yes, my brother replied. It's already done. That didn't feel real. Nothing about this felt real. You don't just add someone to a company like that, I said. Not one worth millions. I know, he said. That's why he had to restructure everything. Legal teams, paperwork. It wasn't simple. Of course it wasn't. Nothing about this ever was. And he did all that. I paused. Without even talking to me? He tried, my brother said quietly. I laughed again. Don't, I said. Don't rewrite this like he reached out, and I ignored him. I'm not, he said. He didn't call. He didn't text. Then what did he do? Another pause. He waited. That answer hit differently. Waited for what? I asked. For me to fix it first, my brother said. My jaw tightened. So he put it on you. Yes. And you waited 3 years. Silence. I didn't even need an answer to that one. Because I already knew. I walked over to the window, staring out at the street below. Cars passing. People moving. Normal life, like nothing had changed. But everything had. So what now? I asked. I just show up and what? Shake his hand. Say thanks for finally giving back what was mine. It's not just that, my brother said. Then what is it? He doesn't just want forgiveness. I frowned. Then what does he want? Another breath. And then, he wants you to take over. I froze. What? The company, my brother said. He wants you to run it. That didn't make sense. None of it did. He built it with you. I said. You've been running it for years. Why would he? Because I'm not staying. That stopped me cold. What are you talking about? I'm stepping away, he said. Completely. My mind was racing now. Why? Another pause. And when he answered, there was something different in his voice. Not guilt this time. Not fear. Something closer to exhaustion. Because I shouldn't have been there in the first place. I didn't know what to say to that. 3 years. Millions of dollars. A company that changed both our lives. And now he was just walking away? That doesn't fix anything, I said finally. I know, he said. But it's a start. A start. I repeated. You think handing me a company I should have built myself somehow erases everything? No, he said. Nothing erases it. Silence settled between us again. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Real. Then I asked the question I'd been avoiding this whole time. Is he bad? I didn't say dad. I didn't have to. My brother understood. Yeah, he said quietly. He is. I closed my eyes. Because suddenly, all the anger, all the frustration, it shifted. Not gone. Just different. Then why now? I asked one last time. Because he doesn't have time to wait anymore, my brother said. And neither do you. That sat with me. Heavy. Unavoidable. I looked at my phone. At his name. At everything that had been broken for 3 years. And I realized something I hadn't expected. This wasn't about the company anymore. It wasn't even about the money. It was about whether I could walk into that room, look him in the eyes, and decide what mattered more. What he took from me. Or what little time he had left. I'll come, I said. There was a long pause on the other end. Really? My brother asked. Yeah, I said quietly. But not for the company. Another silence. Then, I know, he said. I ended the call and stood there for a long time. Because deep down, I already knew, no matter what happened next, nothing was ever going back to the way it was. I almost didn't go. That's the part one don't tell people right away. Because it sounds simple when you say it out loud. I went to see him. Like it was just a decision. It wasn't. I booked the flight that same night. Packed a bag without really thinking. Barely slept. And the entire time, my brain kept running in circles. What do you even say to someone like that? A father who helped build your future by cutting you out of it? A man who chose your brother over you. Not once, but over and over again. By the time I landed in Ohio, I already felt drained. My brother picked me up. We didn't hug. Didn't even look at each other at first. Just that awkward, heavy silence between two people who used to be close and now didn't know what to do with each other. He's at home, my brother said as we drove. Not the hospital. That surprised me. How bad is it? I asked. He didn't answer right away. Then, you'll see. I hated that answer. The house looked the same. That somehow made it worse. Same driveway. Same porch. Same stupid wind chime that used to drive me crazy as a kid. Nothing had changed. Except everything had. I walked in first. And for a second, I didn't recognize him. He looked smaller. Weaker. Like someone had taken the version of him I knew and just drained it. He was sitting in a chair by the window. Blanket over his legs. Oxygen tube. And when he saw me, he tried to sit up straighter. Like he didn't want me to see him like that. Hey kid, he said. My chest tightened immediately. He hadn't called me that in years. I didn't move closer right away. I just stood there, looking at him, trying to match this version with the one in my head. You made it, he said. Yeah, I replied. I did. Silence. Thick. Uncomfortable. Then he nodded toward the chair across from him. Sit. I hesitated. Then I did. Up close it was worse. His hands were shaking slightly. His breathing uneven. This wasn't the man who told me to move faster or get left behind. This was someone running out of time. I owe you an apology, he said. Straight to it. No build-up. That surprised me. For a lot of things. I didn't respond. I wanted to hear it. All of it. I pushed him, he continued. Your brother. I told him to take it and run with it. I know, I said. He nodded slowly. I thought I was doing the right thing. That doesn't make it right. No, he admitted. It doesn't. Another pause. Then he looked directly at me. And for the first time, I saw something I never expected to see in him. Regret. Real regret. I should have backed you, he said. I should have believed you'd figure it out. That hit harder than anything else. Not the money. Not the company. That. I added you back in, he said. Legally. It's yours as much as his now. I didn't come for that, I said quietly. I know, he replied. Another pause. And then, but I need to know something. I frowned slightly. What? He held my gaze. When this is all over, what are you going to do with it? The company. The idea. The thing that started all of this. I sat there for a long time, thinking, feeling everything at once. Anger, loss, pride, regret, and something else. Something I didn't expect. Clarity. Finally, I answered. I'm going to build it my way. He nodded. Slow. Almost relieved. Good, he said. And for the first time since I walked in, it didn't feel like I lost everything.